Okay, I'll call the meeting to order. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Amy, would you take roll, please?
Absolutely. Commissioner Dibdahl?
Here.
Commissioner Wolf?
Here.
Commissioner Wire?
Here.
Commissioner Barish?
Here.
And Mr. Mayor Lindsay.
Here. You have before you the agenda for today.
Motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Is there anything anyone wants to discuss on the consent calendar? If not, do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve today's consent calendar.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Seeing no unfinished business, under new business, public hearing upon the application for the transfer of the retail on-off sale malt beverage and South Dakota Farm wine license, Los Tapatios Mexican Store from 107 East Center Street to 204 South Egan Avenue. Is there anyone here to speak on that?
Jada did notify us that she's not able to attend.
Okay. Is there anyone else in that who wishes to speak on this in the public portion? Seeing none, we'll move on to consider approval of the transfer of the retail on-off sale malt beverage and South Dakota Farm wine license Los Tapatios Mexican Store from 107 East Center Street to 204 South Egan Avenue. Okay.
Motion to approve item number 12.
Hey, Kelly, did Chief have any comments?
To be honest with you, I didn't hear from him, so I'm assuming none.
Same, so, okay.
Staff spoke about this in leadership meeting last week, and there were no concerns.
Okay. I'll second then.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Number 13, approve first reading of ordinance number 1686, amend Appendix B, zoning section 17.02. Ryan or Jameson, you want to address that to start?
Go ahead, Ryan.
Sure, thank you. So included in the agenda packet is the ordinance 1686, which would rezone part of the Windsor Estates Second Edition. This is the residential subdivision that you would access off of 4th Street, off of Airport Road. Included in the agenda is also a preliminary plan which shows a proposed lot layout that the owner has submitted. It also includes some potential structures. Those are shown in dashed lines. And then there's finally an excerpt from the March 10 Planning Commission meeting that shows letters that were submitted regarding that rezone by adjacent property owners. At that March 10th, 2026 Planning Commission meeting, the Planning Commission discussed a lot of questions that are involved in determining whether the rezone is appropriate. With all rezone requests, we review the application taking into consideration the most recent comprehensive land use plan. That plan was adopted April 4th of 2022, and we shared those findings with the Planning Commission. The purpose of that land use plan is to enhance and encourage responsible development within Madison and surrounding area. The future land use map within that adopted plan identifies this area as appropriate for low-density residential, which probably best aligns with the current zoning of R90, a rezone to R60 duplex resident, or amend the rezoning ordinance. Little staff commentary. Staff are kind of divided on this request. Some feel that mixed use is appropriate, or mixed density is appropriate, I should say, while others recommend that the zoning remain that R90 and don't really support the creation of a different zone in this location. This isn't just a single lot, so it's not really a spot zone particular to a single property, but it would still be surrounded by only R90 zoning on all sides, so in some ways, it would be sort of a spot zone. Again, and on par with the comprehensive land use plan, maintaining the existing zone probably aligns best with that land use plan and that map, but from a planning perspective, I don't think it's the only option. And I will stand by if you have any questions for me.
Okay. I just want to add too, for those that are listening at home and those that are here, that the Planning Commission consists of 7 members appointed by the mayor and the city commission, and they oversee the strategic planning of the city through the zoning ordinances. This includes the regulating of location and use of buildings and use of land, density of development, yard spaces, parking requirements, creation and implementation of zones, and other related issues. And then the question I do have is on this right here, is this requesting everything in this plan to be R60?
It is, yes.
Okay. All right. Other questions before I open it up to the public?
That wouldn't prevent a single family to still build here, right?
That's correct. So what it does was, it would change the principal permitted uses from being single-family residential to allowing duplexes as a principal permitted use. Both zones allow you to go to the planning commission and request via conditional use to put additional units. So in the current zoning of R90, the applicant would have the ability to go to the planning commission on an individual structure basis and ask for approval of duplexes. They just, it wouldn't be a principal permitted use. So that would be the change, that it would go from solely single-family residence to allowing duplexes as a principal permit.
So just to clarify, if it were to go to R60, they would still need to come back before planning and zoning if they wanted to put a duplex on an R60?
No, so
Okay.
the R60 would make that a principal permitted use, and that would mean that all they need to do is come in and apply for a building permit and have that building permit approved. There would be no step through the planning commission or city commission. If it remains R90, then there is that step that goes to the planning commission.
Then they could come in and ask for a rezone on that particular parcel to an R60 or just conditional use?
No, it would just be a conditional use.
Okay. Okay.
And so the planning commission would then act as the board of adjustment at that. So for a rezone, they have their planning commission hat on, and that's why they just provide this recommendation today. Conditional use, they would be the final authority, they would be the board of adjustment, it's a quasi-judicial board, and then their finding would be final.
Okay. Any other questions from the commission at the moment? Okay. Do we have anyone in the public that'd like to speak to this? If you would, please come up to the mic. There's a button on the front that says push, turn the red light on, and you can bring a second chair up in that, you know. That would be just fine, once you turn the red light on, for those that are not in the room, if you would state your name and that, and then go ahead and address the commission.
Got it for a sec, try again.
Yeah,
Push one
no.
over.
The little red light right here, they're tricky. Yeah, just push it and hold, and there you go, now you're on.
What I'm handing out is the current layout, and then the proposed, there was some concern from the planning and zoning and how exiting and so on incorporates Third Street.
And sir, after you do the handout, if you would go to the microphone, and that for the benefit of those who are not in the room, I'd really appreciate it.
Ryan, while he's handing this out, do we define duplex, or how is that defined?
Yeah, so you can have, a duplex would be 2 units with a shared property line. So you would have one single lot, and then each of those units would be built on that lot, and then there would be no property line that would separate the two. You can also have a twin home where there is a property line going down the middle and it separates those. So a little distinct difference on the building and how you would construct that, but for the purpose of our ordinance, it reads the same.
All right, sir, if you'd identify yourself for the audience and then go ahead.
Stephen Peterson, and I guess I thank you for having the meeting and letting us come in. Just wanted to offer some clarification since last meeting, some takeaways from that last meeting that obviously were brought to our attention. First one was just the number of lots or doors that would be added to this property by doing it this way. Based on the concept plans that we provided for you to review, the additional doors is approximately 5 doors is where we're at. So from a standard R90 to R60, you'd be adding approximately 5 doors. What that also does is by doing it this way, we're also offering the flow of traffic from 4th to 3rd. That's included in this design. Part of the design comes from doing it this way, and so again, we're just trying to offer, anything we're really adding to the concept plan is developed in a sense that it's gonna be, the flow of traffic that we're adding is really on its own off of 3rd and 4th. So the road that we're adding to it is basically in itself gonna take care of a lot of the flow of traffic. Flow of traffic obviously was a concern, and that's partly why we went to, and built the concept plan for review, to show that we are improving that area with the access off 3rd to 4th, which also has a right away from 5th. So as I understand it, there is some potential that 5th Street may or may not ever go through. I think that there's some challenges with that as far as property owners going to the west. This design helps kind of combine that or connect those. What it also does is there is another property to the west of the property that we're looking at that is a bit land struck in a sense that there's only an easement to that, which kind of doesn't allow anything as far as further growth in that property. So this allows some potential for those landowners to potentially look at, connecting to that road as well. So future growth beyond just this.
Okay, clarification for me.
Yep.
The handout that you gave us here, you said is the current?
That is the original Windsor Estates, slightly modified, but from it shows the roadway. That is the original roadway of Windsor Estates.
Which goes then from
Fourth
fourth
up to
to
fifth.
fifth, but does not come to 3rd, okay?
No.
And so then the one that you're proposing
Brings 4th down to 3rd
brings 4th down to
with
3rd.
a right-of-way or, yep.
What about the traffic that's up on, increased on the 5th Street
That's
at the top?
pretty much, the addition you still have on the left side there, which would be the west side, you have potential of usage of there, but you are gonna have, that's part of the, the original plan to this is the flow of traffic was always gonna go out on Airport Road.
Okay,
I don't know that it was a good or bad, just what it was. At least this plan diverts some of that traffic.
okay. Okay, I just wanted to clarify that you and I were on the same map,
Yep.
okay?
Yep, and again, 5th Street, as it sits, is still a dead end where it's at, as is 4th Street. So there's just not a great plan to finish 5th Street as far as that goes without the, potential of 3 landowners, and I don't know that it happens. So again, this gives you opportunity to consider additional growth as far as that goes in that area.
Was there any consideration in taking this to 5th?
Yep. I've looked at many concept plans, and from a cost standpoint, that's partly why we're where we are today as far as looking at the rezoned R60. To leave it where it is there's an affordability to the whole process of roads and infrastructure to go to get it where it's at. And by many conversations with some realtors and builders, this seems to fit that specific area the best. Again, I'm not trying to compete with the other developments in town, which would be Nielsen and Trojan. I think that they have, a nice thing going with lots. I think I'm trying to bring something to the table that affordability as far as housing goes. I think that what I brought gives you an option to consider that.
Other questions?
Yeah, I have a question. So what is the purpose of, if I'm reading the map correctly, and I may not be, of including that long, narrow strip that goes north and south in the rezone request?
So
What is the
that's
purpose?
a right of way, or that would be a way that the people on the far west could get to potentially their garage doors or whatever, their home, or potentially come all the way down from Fifth all the way to Third.
Right, so, but if that's going to be a street, is that?
It would be to those homeowners, but there would be a right of way. And again, I'm not saying that all of Fifth Street goes down that way. That is not, that's a private parking lot, if you will.
Okay, so I guess I'm not what changes from, if it's R90 currently, and you want to move that, I'm just talking about that long, narrow strip. You want to move that to R60.
You
But
mean
it's-
on the Fifth Street area to the north?
It's that long, narrow strip that it's adjacent to John Nelson's property.
Can you watch me on the next slide? Next attachment, maybe? There we go.
Yeah, sorry, I'm not explaining myself very well.
If there's a better map here somewhere, there we go.
Okay, yes, so the long, narrow strip that's to the west, that's part of the rezone request?
Yep.
Well, I guess, why does that need to be rezoned from R90 to R60?
For the whole plan, for the ability to have Third Street come to Fourth Street, I mean, it's all part of the concept. I mean, without that, Third Street doesn't go to Fourth, it stays back to the original plan that we go to, which does not connect Fourth and Third and Fourth. Because if you don't, the duplexes to the north and south corner of Fourth, that doesn't happen without that.
Okay, so that long, narrow strip is not all proposed to be street, some of it is
Some
proposed
of
to be?
it's actually part of it for the duplexes, yes.
Okay,
Yep, a
that's-
portion of
I
it would
was-
be road and a portion of it would be.
I was missing that part of it,
Yep,
so.
Yep,
And then again, the duplexes, every lot that's on here is wanted to be R60 for duplex? Or do you have specific ones that?
no,
you
so
were
what we
looking
have proposed basically amounts to approximately, based on the plan that you have in front of you, you got four plexes, one triplex and one duplex to make the most of that property. That's using an engineer to set it up with the specs that we have within the city limits.
I might interject here for just a second, because we've got a couple preliminary plans, which I think are always very helpful for the commission and for the public to see potential development opportunities. Today, we're looking at the rezone, and so regardless of any preliminary plan shown, the rezone is going to be the action for today and potentially for next meeting if this first reading is approved. Ryan, do you want to walk through how subdivision plans get approved once the developer brings them to your office?
Yeah, so the first step is a preliminary plan, and they would submit that preliminary plan. We would review that internally to make sure it meets all of our subdivision regulations. That would ultimately be taken to the planning commission and to the city commission for consideration. And then from there, it would become a final plan. And that's the existing, it shows that this existing plan is a preliminary plan. However, that does mimic the final development plan that was adopted in 2007. There haven't been any other preliminary plans that have been approved, so this remains the final development plan as it sits today.
The one that was distributed today?
That's right.
So that was what was most recently adopted. It's been a few years.
Yeah, in 2007, right.
But it would still require plating by by planning commission and city commission approval?
Yes, that's right.
Okay. I just want to bring that up to make sure we're all on the same page. For me, it's very helpful for everybody to see what the developer's intent is and how they want to develop it, how they want the lots and what proposed structures. Today would be zoning, and then if that meets what the developer needs for his development plans, then they would still have future plating to bring to the planning commission and the city commission for approval. Does that make sense? Okay, I just want to make sure we're not getting too many things muddled here together, so. And I guess I'll ask a follow-up question then on the plan that was distributed today, so not in the agenda packet. Would all of these lots, based on your rezone request, still be intended for some sort of duplex or medium density, or would there be single-family mixed in with medium density?
Are you talking about the concept plan that was submitted, was dropped off, or?
The one that you distributed today,
This one here?
the one that has been approved apparently in previous years.
You know, that's unknown. I
Okay.
can't tell you. I mean, obviously, that's been what's been adopted. I don't know that that's the way we move forward if something doesn't happen with the R60, if that's what you're asking.
Yeah. So, I mean, what is it that you are still looking for today then? Are you looking for
Well,
what
I'm
was?
looking to make the most of what, I'm trying to work with everyone and trying to make it worthwhile for everyone to be here. But at the end of the day, it has to make sense from an affordability standpoint. So I'm looking to either see if fourth and third meet up and then the R60 works out, or if it doesn't, then I don't know,
Okay, thank you.
Other questions?
So the R60 has more than duplex. You can put a triplex. Is that the maximum?
You can do townhomes with up to 4 units.
Okay.
Other questions?
Do we know what the current inventory is throughout the city as it pertains to R60 available lots?
I don't. There are available R60 lots in the Cyber Estates Edition. Yeah, but I don't have a good inventory of what remains.
Sure. Thank you.
Other questions? Okay, thank you. I'm going to open it up to anyone else who would like to visit.
My name is Tom Farrell. My wife Joyce is with me, and several of our neighbors are with us. We've been owners out in Windsor Estates since 1999. We purchased that because primarily we knew it was going to be a single-family housing area. That's the way it was zoned. That's the way it has been future built, et cetera. In 1999, we were the last house out there. That no longer is the case, but everything is single families. I am concerned several things. I hear duplexes, I hear triplexes, and I hear up to 4 units. I heard from Mr. Peterson talk about maybe or possibly 5 new doors. Well, if you give them the capability to build a 4-unit, and you still have lots left over, my math from Washington grade school does not come up to be only 5. That's one of the real concerns that I have. I don't know if anyone, and maybe even Ryan, is aware when the addition of those lots to our west was done, Johnson Brothers did the storm sewer. And I addressed this in my letter to the commissioners and the mayor. That storm sewer simply drains to the ground. Can you imagine what additional housing, sidewalks, driveways will do? It has no outlet other than to the ditch that runs along 3rd Street. That to me is also a very, very large concern that potentially should have been taken care of when that initially was developed. Mr. Peterson talked about affordability for him, but what about affordability for our children when they inherit our house? What will this do to resale ability for those of us who have been there for a long time? The other question I think you need to look at is there is currently R60 available Cyber Estates. I think, Ryan, there probably is some up in that area north of the soccer field also.
Yeah, there is. There's about 8 lots up there available too.
So it isn't that we need this for current development in the community. This was a residential area, single family, and I would certainly encourage you to maintain that for those of us who reside there. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else who'd like to speak?
Mr. Mayor, just a question on
Yes.
that one, if we could.
Yes.
Is there any I guess, I'm sorry, directed more towards Ryan
Okay.
here, but storm sewer concerns that Mr. Phil brought up is,
Yeah, I think the biggest concern out there is that it's incomplete. I mean, the final development plan accommodated all of the drainage, but as it sits now where development has stalled and came to a stop, that remaining infrastructure was never put in. And so he's absolutely correct. It just drains over the land and south until such time that they can build over to the drainage easement, which eventually gets down and properly accommodates that and gets it to the ditch. So I think that, you know, the vision back in 2007 was that this development would happen much quicker and that drainage would be able to be accommodated, but it's just never, it's stalled and it's never been properly done.
Other questions?
So it runs over the land, there's no,
So, yeah, so like Fourth Street, that drains to the west. Some of those areas there, as you're looking at like Fifth Street and that Hampton Court, that area drains directly south, and there's drainage easements that are through some of those backyards. There's drainage easements between properties, and then that eventually gets down to Fourth Street. But for it to be properly done, there would be storm sewer. If you look at the plan as it exists today, that final development plan, and showing a pretty large sanitary sewer and storm sewer drainage easement, that's where the water is supposed to go. That's where it's supposed to outlet. And without that road being constructed, it doesn't do that currently.
Other questions? Okay, go ahead.
Hi, my name is Janice Daling, and I live out in this subdivision, have been there since '97. And I want to reiterate everything Tom said. Everything he said about our neighborhood and our streets and the way it drains, it's still not quite right. And it just drains to the end of the street there. That's where the hole is, where the water stands. And if someone's going to put something in there, it needs to be a significant improvement as to what goes on out there. I mean, there's going to be, money needs to be put in there. I hope we don't, if this goes through, I hope we don't lightly consider how that drainage is set up, because we don't want it draining back into all our homes. And the other thing I want to say is introduction of multifamily units in an area that's predominantly populated with single-family homes dramatically alters the identity of your neighborhood. Going even from just 2 units a block, or right now we average about 2 cars per household. Upping that up to 2 units, there's 4 more cars per household. Where are they going to park? We just aren't set up for that out there. And with this street improvement, the traffic increase, the safety for kids, bicyclers, everything out there would be dramatically changed. The proposed changes also cause me concern about our property values. We pay a very good amount for property taxes. So now we're not single-family home district in the area anymore. We become multifamily. You know, that doesn't always improve the value for you when you want to resale down the road. But on the other side of it, our taxes continue to go up. But I don't want my value to go down either. And currently, I just went to the Beacon site and clicked around. There are a few other R90 developments. Why don't we let some of those get finished? Yes, we've maybe been slow over the years, but there's continually been one here, one there, one built in our area that are single-family homes, and that's why the people buy out there, and that's why they like it. It is a single-family, quiet neighborhood. It's a good neighborhood. We know each other. Multifamily housing, If it goes to 4, it concerns me. We have neighbors who care for neighbors. You get to know them well. You know, we have longevity in our neighborhood. And I'd like to see that stay where when you get into multifamily housing, the turnover. So the safety for our neighborhood causes me concern. And so for these reasons, I hope you leave the zoning at R90. Thank you.
Questions of Janice? Thank you. Yeah, you can leave it on. Yeah. Is there anyone else who'd like to speak?
Can I jump back to a question to Ryan?
Yes.
I know you got into this a little bit on the rezones. Are you able to tie conditions, or that's at the conditional use level?
Yeah, the conditional use levels where you can tie.
And that's the planning board can tie only duplexes or
Yeah,
twin
because-
homes or,
Correct, because they would approve those on a case-by-case basis.
right?
You come on up.
Good afternoon. Dennis Larson, moved here 6 years ago to 4th Street. I'm the lucky guy that gets to live right next to the drainage. And a house was built there a couple of years ago, just 50, 60 feet to the northeast of me. And of course, now I'm getting the water from his property also. And of course, he put downspouts to where the waterway runs, which makes good logical sense, but that all comes through the yard. So drainage improvements in the future is music to my ears. But that's what I have to say, is that the drainage situation out there is not the best. Thank you.
Thank you.
And I bought the house because it's a zero-entry house, which I really appreciate.
Does that mean you can't go in it?
It makes it easier for me to get in, let's put it that way. Thank you.
Is there anyone else who'd like to speak? Okay, seeing none, I'll bring it back to the commission. Any other questions or comments any of you'd like to make?
Question for probably Ryan. It's not part of this request, but I think it's important to take into consideration, given the concerns about traffic flow especially. So the property at the far north end, the large, it's currently a field, that property had been given, I believe, a conditional use for a church to potentially go there at some point. Is that still in effect?
So during the plating process, discussions occurred as to what the use of that property would be. But to my recollection, it was just discussion and wasn't actually an approved conditional use.
Okay, I might be misremembering that, it had been approved for a church to go there, but that is not actually, that would still need to get it approved if there was a.
Yeah, it would, and that was,
Church currently owns that property,
yeah,
but they still need a conditional use to build there.
that's right. Because if my memory is incorrect and there was actually a conditional use that was granted, that was years ago, and that would have expired by now.
Okay.
So they would regardless have to come back and have that approved.
Okay, so I think if that is still at play, in my mind, that poses additional concerns of, there's already potential bottlenecks for traffic and, drainage and all kinds of things. A church going there would certainly add to the congestion.
Yeah, if a conditional use is approved, it's good. Construction has to happen within that year, or then they have to come back for
Okay.
a second conditional use.
Okay, Ryan, another question in that. If this, the way I read this here now, this is asking for every lot up there to be R60.
Yeah.
Okay, if this were deferred or not passed, they would have an opportunity to come back and ask for a rezone where part would be R90 and part would be R60?
I mean, they could certainly, modify the plan and then come back with a modified plan. They could do that.
And as Ryan mentioned at the beginning, the commission has that authority now as well. As he said at the beginning, you have the authority to approve, deny, or amend the ordinance as presented to you for the rezonings.
Following what Jameson just mentioned, I would look at lots 6, 7, 8, 9. I'm on
And
this
I'll also
sheet
add
right
that right now on
here.
the
And I guess
screen,
if I were looking at an amendment, it would be R60 in this area only, R90 on the top, on Fifth Street.
okay. So when you look at the screen, these are the 3 lots that currently exist, which are being requested for rezone. And that's why I was trying to clarify, the future development may change based on what the developer would request through the plating process. But if I am correct, Mayor, what you're saying is that the north, I'll call it horizontal lot, you would like to see stay R90.
R90.
And you'd be open to the other ones changing. I'm just repeating what I heard, just to make sure that everybody is on the same page there.
And then if I was making another, an additional amendment, it would be that the street continue from Fourth Street to Third, as presented on the 7 lots that I'm looking at here on the bottom.
Can I ask one more question? If this gets rezoned and you have those R60 at the end of Fourth Street, is it automatic guarantee then the street will go through there, so this extra traffic is not on our street? Or how does that work out?
That was part of what I just said, if I were to make, this is, this would be my suggestion if the commission is looking at doing something today and making an amendment, would be that that's Third Street to Fourth Street go in.
And it has to go in before the rezoning would be approved? Or it would have to go in as part of that? Or is that what you're?
It would have to go in as part of the development. So if they didn't do any development, the street wouldn't go in until the development starts. But the street typically would go in first,
Okay.
and then the lots get developed.
Okay, but we're all on Fourth Street and we want to stay R90 for our neighborhood. Does that have any bearing? Because that's what we're all here about. We're on Fourth Street and we don't want Fourth Street to go R60. If you want to go do it back on there and those people are okay with it, that's fine. But our neighborhood, we want to stay R90. We want to keep our home value where it is. We want to not have extra homes doing drainage.
What you're saying is this up here, R60, that would add more traffic coming out because there's no exit. In my view, if we were to.
So I'm saying, I don't care about Fifth Street. On our street, our people in the audience are Fourth Street. We don't want to, we want R90. We want our neighborhood to stay the same. And single-family homes, so we get other families out there and more people who have the,
But
maybe
you're-
want to stay longer
Okay,
there.
Janice, you are this neighborhood here.
Right.
Okay, if this is R60 up here, it's gonna have a bigger effect on you than this right here.
Not as far as my neighborhood. Those people meet in their group and we meet in our group. It's just how it is, kind of.
No, what I'm looking at is
saying-
from the standpoint of traffic and safety.
Right, but they
There
would
is
come
no
out
other
and
outlet.
go.
There is no other outlet for that.
Not right now.
Okay. And in that case, there's a good chance that this other road would not go in, because it would not be a requirement as part of it. But again, they have the opportunity also to come back to planning and zoning and asking for something different again. But I wanted to throw this out right now from, as long as we have everyone here, as a possibility.
Right, and if they choose to put that street in from Third to Fourth, we just would like our neighborhood to stay R90. Behind us and in front would be perfect, but, we bought in R90 because that's where we wanted to live, that's where we wanted to raise our family, that's what we want to move in our neighborhood and become part of our neighborhood kids. I mean, that's kind of how we are. I mean, it's not my kids, it's not the neighbor's kids. We all kind of are, look out for everybody's kids, and we want R90, we want family housing. And that's why we bought there.
And in an R60, it would still be family housing.
Or it could be duplexes, or
Well,
triplexes,
a
or
duplex is still-
fourplexes.
A duplex is still
Okay,
family housing.
and a fourplex is what? What usually, you don't see a lot of families in a fourplex.
There's only, as I'm looking at it here, there's only one lot that I can see that would qualify as a fourplex. And that would be this one here on the corner.
Okay,
Because we have a square footage, minimum. Correct me if I'm wrong, Ryan. We have a square footage minimum for the development of the properties, right?
Yeah, we have ground coverage.
Yes.
Yeah.
okay. I
Now-
understand what you're saying. I'm just saying, when you look at your audience.
I
and then
understand that. I understand that.
And you talk about this church going back there, then what's gonna happen there? I mean, the church already owns the land, it's got a lower tax bracket now if you look on the Beacon site, and it's not a church yet, so, we know that's going on back there, so how's that traffic gonna affect? The other thing about it, when you get that street coming from Third to Fourth, when all those baseball tournaments are going on there, they're parked on both sides of that street, they're gonna be now up in our subdivision because of that street.
Well, one of the things in that we did a couple of years ago to alleviate that is we bought the 13
That
acres.
extra land.
And so
And
the
it
overflow,
helps.
the overflow traffic and that is allowed to park on that field.
Yes, we
Yes.
saw that last year, and that did help a lot, so thank you
does,
very much for
yes.
that. But those are
The
just,
thing that I'm looking at here is, we have, as a commission, we have a choice, multiple choices right
Yes.
now. We can put some limits on it and move it through the first reading, we can deny it totally, and then they can come back with a secondary plan, or we can accept it in total. So I mean, there, as a commission, there's lots of possibilities here. Now, having attended many planning and zoning commissions, in that the planning commission did turn this down unanimously.
yes,
But that doesn't mean that it can't come back in a new request in a new form. But what it also does is it throws it back to this plan here, which would then still make some changes in your neighborhood and in
Right.
traffic flow. So I guess the thing I'm putting out before the commission now is really, here are some options, what do they want to do? And it's, I do not make motions, but I do get to put in, an opinion.
Yes.
And then we can leave it to the commission to decide whether they want to accept, deny, modify, put some stipulations on it. And also, when it goes back to the planning commission, they also have the same ability of
Right.
putting restrictions and things in the design process. And even though we may agree with something on here or disagree totally, the developer still has the opportunity of coming back.
right.
Okay.
I just want to say, when we bought the last lot we were going to build, right next to where development's going to happen, or may or may not happen, whatever. But when we bought that assuming everything was going to stay R90 to build, and then COVID hit, and then prices went crazy, so we paused for now. And I got a master plan at that time that was dated 2019, and so I was wondering if I could get a copy of this one to compare to the one I was given, because this
If it was
is,
2019, would it have been this one, Ryan, possibly?
Yes, that's the latest final development plan.
so you think
that was
that's the same
adopted.
one? Because for some reason, mine seemed like Fifth Street went somewhere, and it wasn't like this, but I'm not positive. So I was just wondering if I get a copy of this to compare to what I was given,
Okay.
to see what the changes are. Thank you.
Do you have extra copies? Okay, they have an extra copy there. All right, I'm gonna. Yes, sir, if you'd come to the microphone for those that are listening on the, online, I'd really appreciate it.
I just have one question to straighten in my mind. The street that you're proposing to connect Fifth Street to Third Street, running north and south,
Well, on here, it's Fourth to Third.
Fourth to
It
Third.
doesn't go all the way to Fifth.
Okay, Fourth to Third, okay?
Yes.
Would that then connect Third Street to that street that runs north and south? Or would it be a dead end like we currently have it?
I am looking at what they've proposed here, and so it would bring Fourth Street over and down to Third Street.
So you could make a right or left turn off of there and go to Third Street from Fourth Street?
You could, yes,
Okay.
yes.
I think that's the part that a lot of us are concerned about. We do like that dead end, just for speed of cars and lots of kids in the neighborhood. So that is one concern.
Okay.
That clarifies it. Thank you.
Yeah, yeah, I'm going by what they have, proposed before
See,
us.
I don't have a copy of that, so thank you.
Sure. So. I'm gonna open it up to the commission.
I guess I'd just like to make a couple comments. I'm a little bit torn on this one. From a city standpoint, I think we really need to look at some of these areas and find out how we can complete them, get streets extended so that we can facilitate that traffic flow, as well as look at the safety concerns, as it is for fire protection, police protection, and getting emergency responders to those areas. Dead ends are generally not a good thing. On the other side of it, this has been a largely single-family residence area for quite some time. That's the initial planning of it. And this would be a bit of a spot zoning area in that little area there. So I kind of look at it from a standpoint that we do have inventory available for our 60 building currently. So from a city standpoint, from that single point alone, I wouldn't see adding any other R60 property at this time, or I don't feel like there is a need for it at this time. So I kind of look at it from a standpoint that we're looking to essentially help a developer find a way to finish building out this area. The problem with that is it's at the expense of the existing residents in that area. So I think there are some benefits to allowing something like this to go through, but I think we need to find a way to do it where the current residents are approving that. So at this point, I'm currently not in favor of approving the rezoning as is.
Okay. Anyone else?
I think Commissioner Barish raises some excellent points, and that's kind of where I am at as well. On the one hand, we want to do what we can to encourage the best use of land, but I agree that I think we need to be careful that we're not doing that at the expense of existing property owners. So, and it's difficult with the plans that have been put before us are useful to look at, but as Jameson said, there's no guarantee that that's what's actually going to happen. So I'm not super comfortable with approving the rezoning request at this time.
Ryan, what are parks zoned as? Like what's Bachman Bellotti?
Bachman Bellotti, I believe that's actually like a rural residential zone. It's kind of an odd zone. We don't have very many of those. Typically, parks are just whatever zone it is that's adjacent to it. So it could be your R20, your R60, your R90 residence zones.
And that would be the houses going into it would be R90, into Bachman Bellotti?
Yes, everything north of 3rd Street there is all R90 zone, single family.
Other questions?
So no matter what, it'd be a type of spot zone, correct? I mean, it's
Yeah, I
surrounded there.
typically think of a spot zone as, like one small, like a single lot within amongst, a different zoning, but, in a way, this is a spot zone because it would be surrounded on all four sides by R90. I would probably say it meets the definition of spot zone.
There's a lot of dynamics here. The drainage concerns concern me as well. That's not ideal to run one or a couple dead-end roads into a field and just let it go. You know, that's, I don't know what we do there. And the connectivity, you know, just for utilities in general, it's nice to have everything connected, snow removal, as Dan mentioned, emergency response. There's just no one right answer here, so I'm up in the air. What would work for everyone, if there's such a thing?
And
I'm
then
kind of with you
Ryan,
there.
go ahead, Dan.
I was gonna say, I'm kind of with you there, Dre. I'd really like to see that infrastructure get built out, completed. And that's kind of where I'm struggling with this, because I definitely side with the landowners in the sense, the residents there, this has been this way for so long. And they don't want to see their neighborhood change. I know the dynamic of having a family neighborhood. And I know what that means to those families. So trying to kind of weigh the options of, you know, we can't just leave that infrastructure hanging out there. So I would really, really like to challenge the developer to see if there was anything that we can come up with that could work with those people in that area to see if we can come together with a solution that would allow for the finishing of that infrastructure, allow the additional housing to go through, and to make that essentially a profitable project for himself as well to pursue. So that's where I'm really torn on this.
And I'm torn on all of these lots going to R60. You know, and that is, I believe, is what is before us right now, is that all of them on Fifth Street as well as Fourth Street, you know, all having the option of an R60. So I'm kind of torn on that standpoint. I do see the advantages for fire and safety, you know, an emergency, you know, ambulance and that, you know, of having another roadway, you know, into that subdivision. I'm just not sure that changing all of these to R60 at this point would be the thing to do. I guess I would prefer that the developer, you know, relook at their plans and come back to planning and zoning and, you know, start the process with a different aspect to it is where I'm at.
Yeah, I guess,
Anyone else?
real quick, my opinion here, I hate to impede development. I think, you know, you look all throughout the state, and housing is obviously a concern with everybody. Everybody needs doors. You know, I live up in the northeast corner along Cyber States, and I live next to a bunch of duplex, and so some of the negative connotations with the duplexes I don't think are fully true, or at least from my perspective, I haven't seen a lot of, you know, additional traffic congestion, that sort of stuff, associated with that style of housing. With that, you know, I like the connectivity idea of it too, but I also respect the, you know, the planning commission's, commentary on this too, to deny it, so I'm really torn on it. So yeah, but I don't wanna say no. I'd like to also come back to the developers and see if there's a way we can work together with the residents in that neighborhood, and the developers on this, so. Do you want a motion?
So Ryan, just to clarify, at this point in time, in that if this were not to pass, they still have an opportunity to come back again with a different set of plans, or not, or a different modification where every lot on here is not R60?
Right, they would have to modify that plan. They would not be allowed to just come back with the same plan.
Right.
They'd have to wait 1 year before they could do that, but they could modify and bring a different plan.
Or, just to clarify it for me in that, they could bring back the same drawing, just not ask for everything to be R60?
Yeah, I think that would be a different appeal, and they could do that.
Okay. So there are opportunities for both the neighborhood and the developer to work out something, you know, because I do like the connectivity between Third and Fourth Street. And that's for safety, and then as part of that, drainage would have to be continued, you know, and put in to get the drainage from that neighborhood down to where it should be going. So,
So it's all or nothing today. Is that accurate?
well, today, and that, they're asking for everything to be R60.
So if we can't table it,
We can amend it, right?
but
You could amend, you could table, you could pass, you could deny.
I guess another question, Mr. Peterson, if you want to come up again. You said that there'd be 4 duplexes, 1 triplex, and what was the end of that?
3 fourplexes, 1 triplex, 1 duplex.
Which lots would those be on?
So off of 4th Street to the north there, that is a fourplex.
Okay, now, Fourth Street to the north, are you?
Right there, yep, that's a fourplex.
Right here on this corner?
Yep,
Okay,
and the one on the south side is a triplex.
and the one right here would be a triplex?
Yep.
Okay,
7 doors.
Yep,
okay. And so, what would be here and here?
On Fifth Street?
what's that?
What would be next to this one here going to the east?
That's all a triplex. Is that,
All 3 lots here?
yeah, that all
Yeah,
combines.
one structure.
Oh, that's one structure that fits?
One structure, yep,
One structure that fits this whole corner?
correct. Yep.
Okay, otherwise it's 3 lots.
Well, yes, potentially 3 lots based on what it is, yes.
Yes, okay. And so you'd be looking at, basically, instead of 3 individual houses, 3 with common walls.
Correct,
And here you would have a fourplex,
correct.
okay? And so that fourplex then would be all 4 parking driveways come, is it this whole thing or just this?
It's that whole area. So the plans would have to be changing based on what you're saying. I think you're saying that just that one area being R60. So right now, we have plans coming from the south and the north that basically, I think, gets to the garage doors, if you will, right in the middle. So they need to be modified slightly.
Okay, so this here, these lots 1, 2, 3, and 4 would be a fourplex,
Correct.
okay? And so that would basically have the same number of driveways as if it was 4 individual houses.
Correct.
And then on the bottom, all these 3 lots would be the triplex,
Correct. Which would be
which would
potentially,
be the same as 3 individual homes with driveways.
so with the zone or the allowance of what's, lot sizes wise, there may be two lots there versus 3.
Here,
Nope, on the south side.
oh, yeah, here,
Yeah.
okay. Okay. And the reason I'm asking these questions is, my niece in Sioux Falls just bought, the center home of a triplex. And so, having just saw it yesterday and that, I have a vision of what I envision would be there, where you'd have 3 common, you'd have common walls rather than, individual spaces between them. Okay? Any other questions?
Sorry, I'm trying to get the zoning ordinance pulled up and it's taking me too long, so I'll just ask Ryan, because he might know off the top of his head. Okay, so the request is to rezone to R60, but that would still require a, further approvals for the triplex, and multi-housing units that the developer is looking at putting in?
If it's successfully zoned R60, they can do up to 4 units for
Oh,
town
okay, so that would not,
with a building permit.
okay,
Yeah,
thank
they
you for
would not come
clarifying.
back to the board.
So then a question for Mr. Peterson. The units that you would be looking at putting in there are fully compliant with the existing zoning, or would there be any, we've had in the past, people need to come and ask for a variance because they want to build closer to the property line or something like that, but are you looking at putting in complies with the existing?
I would say yes, to comply with what's existing right now, yeah.
Okay.
And then, still the problem that I have is all of Fifth Street being R60. If it's lots, the 4 on the north side of Fourth being a fourplex or 4 individual houses, or the one on the south being a triplex or 3 individual homes, I don't see any difference in the amount of traffic, based on either direction. I do see that, if you do a triplex, you get more square footage because you don't have to have that 15-foot between each individual building. My concern at this point, and that is what this whole thing asking for all the lots on Fifth Street to also be R60. And Dan, you're still online?
Yes, I'm here.
Do you have the ability to see the maps that he passed out to us?
Yep, I have them.
Okay. Other discussion?
Are your hands tied with your current concept? I mean, I'm sure you've looked at several options. I don't know.
I've done a lot of research and tried to come up with plans that was consistent with what I thought would work. I don't know how much more I'm gonna throw at this before I just walk away and then let somebody else, and then I don't know what the plans look like.
Right.
And then you lose Third Street to Fourth, and I don't know.
Ryan, with it as R90, does he still have the opportunity to come back and ask for those lots to have conditional use for a fourplex or a threeplex?
Yeah, you can do conditional uses listed under the R90. Condominiums, subject to the following: 4 maximum units, 4,500 square feet per dwelling unit, and then the maximum ground coverage, including any accessory buildings, of 30%. So you could cover 30% of the lot with building. That does not include any concrete flat work. That would just be structures themselves. And then twin homes are also included in the conditional use. So with the existing R90, Mr. Peterson could come, or any other applicant could come and ask for those individually from the Planning Commission.
Okay, so even if this is denied, it does not bring his plans to a halt?
Not necessarily. He would have that appeal through the Planning Commission acting as the Board of Adjustment.
Okay.
Right away, or is there a waiting period there?
Right away, I mean, because that's the existing zoning that it is, and so he could apply for that immediately.
And at that point in time, and that, then the Planning Commission could also take a look at, the requirements of, completing that street from Third to Fourth and completing the drainage and that's currently needed for the neighborhood. Okay. Other discussion?
What's the newest house up there in that area?
I think it's on Fifth Street. It's the last lot.
And that was in what year?
Must have been 2022, 2023 possibly.
I think 23, I think.
And is Fourth Street developed right down to the property that you have here now? There aren't any additional lots available down there, okay? Well, my thought is that, you know, in an R90, he would still have an opportunity to come back to planning and zoning and make a request in that, for a specific area or a specific set of lots that I'm looking at on here to do in that, you know, the process that he's asking for, unless I'm misreading something. Is that right, Ryan?
Yeah, he would have that opportunity.
Okay. Other questions or comments from the commission?
I'll make a comment that, you know, I hope what the homeowners who have taken the time out of their day to come before us are hearing is that we share your concerns about, is this the best use of this property? And we all live in neighborhoods around town, and certainly I think if this was happening in our neighborhood, we would have the same concerns. So I hope what you are hearing is that we appreciate you coming out and letting us hear directly from you what some of your concerns are, and we are definitely taking those to heart. I also hope that Mr. Peterson is hearing that we're not necessarily opposed to developing this property in a way that makes sense, and we want to encourage you to be successful in that area. At this time, I'm not convinced that this is the best way forward, and I am optimistic that we can find something that works for everybody. So at this time, I'm going to make the motion to deny ordinance number 1686 with, you know, the encouragement that I think let's continue conversations and figure out a way that everybody can be successful and happy with the options that are on the table.
I just want to add,
We have a motion. Did we have a second?
Dan, I think's turn.
That's what I thought he said too.
I just wanted to add to what Jenny was stating there. I think this is a good opportunity for the developer with the people that are there, possibly to set up some times to discuss their concerns, kind of go through and figure out what would work, possibly maybe having some single-family homes as a buffer to additional. It might eliminate the number of multifamily housing units up there, but it may be able to quell some of the property valuation issues. And it would allow us to essentially build out those streets, which is what we want. There's ever an incident, a fire incident or something up in that neighborhood, we do not want a single way in and a single way out. So having an additional egress would be very important. But I would second that motion from Jenny at this time as it is laid out.
Okay, further discussion?
There's no waiting, I mean, or if that's the way we'd
For a
move.
conditional use, there would be no waiting. For a reapplication for a rezone, so the plan would have to be changed substantially. That's how our ordinance reads, is that in order for you to reapply, the plan would have to be a substantial change. So you would not be able to come back and say, okay, well, I'm just going to take, you know, a couple of these lots off. Then that appeal would be substantially the same. And so if he can make enough changes, then he could come back before that 6 month. But he can certainly apply for conditional use at the next meeting.
As an R90,
Yeah, that's right.
as an R90, okay? Other questions?
Then we're in the same spot, though.
Not exactly, because right now in that with the motion, we are not changing all of the lots to R60. We're leaving them as R90. He still has the opportunity to come in and say, on this lot right here, I'd like a conditional use for a triplex. Or on this lot here, I'd like a conditional use for a fourplex. But it leaves all the other lots R90. And so then it would come back before planning and zoning again. So he does have the opportunity to ask for, you know, the fourplex and the threeplex before the Planning and Zoning Commission. And then at that time, Planning and Zoning can take a look at it and say, well, in order to have that, you know, application there, we want Third Street to connect with Fourth Street, and we want the drainage to so they have the opportunity at Planning and Zoning to put on those additional requirements and that for this to move forward. But then that would leave all of the lots R90 except those that may be approved as conditional use.
Yeah, and that zoning would stay R90. It would just be an allowed use on the R90, so.
Other questions? Are we ready for the vote? We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign.
Nay.
Okay. Amy, you got that? Okay.
It's a voice vote, so you don't need to know the number, it's just
Nope.
voice vote passed.
Nope,
To deny,
sounds good.
yeah.
So with that, I would encourage you to visit with neighbors and visit with Ryan, and we'll see what the future brings.
Sounds good. Thanks for your time.
Thank you, everyone, for being here. Number 14, award bid 2026 Sidewalk Improvement Project 2026-1 to Supreme Concrete LLC. And Ryan or Jameson?
I'll let Ryan take it, but I'll be generous with our folks here. If you want to leave after that item's done, feel free. You don't have to stick around. You can also stick around. We're happy to have visitors, but we'll give you a moment to leave if you'd like.
Thank you for being here.
Okay, I'll let Ryan tackle this item.
All right, thank you. So included in the agenda packet is the bid tabulation sheet. We opened bids for the 2026 sidewalk improvement project on March 12th, 2026 at 10 a.m. And we had 7 bidders, which is very good. I don't know that we've had 7 bidders on a sidewalk project in a very long time. The lowest bidder, as the agenda indicates, is Supreme Concrete LLC. We've reached out to the gentleman that owns Supreme Concrete. He's comfortable with his bid. We have not worked with that company in the past because they are a pretty new company. However, I've worked with several individuals that are on that crew when they were with a different company. Their work has always been very good, very knowledgeable, and we would recommend awarding to Supreme Concrete LLC. Their total bid was $139,964. And I'll mention that this was well under our estimate. Our estimate was $210,000.
Okay.
Will these projects be overseen in-house?
Yes, they will.
Other questions? Seeing no other questions, do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to award bid 2026 sidewalk improvement project, project 2026-1 to Supreme Supreme Concrete LLC in the amount of $139,964,000.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Number 15, authorize the mayor to sign the amended power purchase and sale agreement with Basin Electric Power Cooperative. Jameson, you want to address this?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As you remember, last year, at the end of the year, we approved a new contract with Basin for use of our generation facility. This is an amendment to that which allows, or which changes where our outage or updates outage reporting goes to, and that would go directly to Basin instead of to the Southwest Power Pool. This is something that's been requested by Basin, and we're supportive of it. In the end, the reason why it was in the original contract was a mistake on Basin's part. So they have to report their outages to SPP. They have the SPP system. They know how to get into that, and they do that already. And so by reporting our outages to Basin, they can report that to SPP, essentially on our behalf, and so we just email it over to them. It works smoothly since they are claiming our generation facility as a resource.
Then just a quick question from me on that. Does that include outages that we have when we're doing repairs and things, or outages caused by nature?
I believe this should just be outages on our generation facility.
Okay,
Yep.
very good. Other questions? If not, do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to authorize the mayor to sign the amended purchase power and sale agreement with Basin Electric Power Cooperative.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Amy, I'm going to recuse myself from this one.
Okay. Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Number 16, approve the Power of One volunteer program policy. Jameson?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So currently, employees of the city of Madison have up to 16 hours of volunteer hours they can use each year on eligible activities and volunteering programs. This kind of adds to that by creating what we're calling a Power of One volunteer program. So this is something that's been come up through our Employee Benefits Committee. This would allow employees to use those volunteer hours for larger events or projects that may require a team of people. It must require at least 10 volunteers from the city. So they'd be able to use those volunteer hours, and it gives the city some positive publicity for the volunteer efforts we're already doing in the community, but more in a team-based environment. So the agenda packet has all the details, but again, this is something that would require at least 2 volunteers for either half-day or a full-day activity that the city could devote it to. Any organizations interested in getting support from the city in this way can submit an application, and then the city commission can approve up to 2 projects per year. That Employee Benefits Committee would vet those projects and submit them to you for your consideration. I'll stand by for any questions.
Questions or comments? If not, do we have a motion?
Motion to approve.
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Number 17, review a draft of the Parks Master Plan. Jameson, Ryan?
Okay, so since this is a draft form only, and I know we're running late through your lunch hour, I'll try to be quick, but please ask any questions or stop me if you'd like. I won't go through it all in detail, but I'll outline that this is the master plan for our parks amenities and system for the future. Last summer, we collected substantial data through a public survey that was advertised both online as well as in events such as at our downtown Madtown. We had a booth set up there to try to drum up interest. We received a lot of surveys, and we had a lot of very useful feedback that we gathered through that. We also combined that with the knowledge of our park staff, knowing that they're aware of our assets and which ones need some replacement or are still in good condition for the time being. And so this document gathers all that up together and puts it forward for the city to use for many years. We didn't put a number of years on this. Sometimes you'll see cities have a master plan where it's a 10-year master plan or a 20-year master plan. This is simply a master plan for the future for us to use however we deem appropriate. If it gets to a time where we feel like it's outdated, we can redo the process and come up with a new plan. But as long as we feel that the information in here is still valuable, we can continue to use it. I guess the biggest part of the plan would start on page 20. Recommended projects. I think this is what people are most likely interested in, and is largely takeaway that we had from that survey. We've separated this into a few different areas. First are projects in progress. So as I said, we had that survey last summer and fall, and we already looked through the data and had some good ideas that we gathered from the public. And so we want the public to realize, or to understand, that we really do read every one of these. We do take into consideration the public's ideas for our parks and for our community's future. And there were some really great ideas in here that we ourselves hadn't thought of. And so some of these things we've already put into motion, and that's where you see them in progress. So some of that includes installation of dog waste stations in our park assets, increasing availability of drinking fountains. Some of that's fixing ones that were not functioning. In some cases, even removing them, because a non-functioning drinking fountain that we can't fix is worse than no drinking fountain at all. So in some cases, we just needed to remove those if they weren't going to work anymore. We've also been working on planting trees, exploring other shade options, such as at the ball fields where possible, and then starting a pilot program for pollinator plots that are on appropriate city properties. Some of this stuff you'll see more action on, and as I said, some of it is already moving forward. There's an up next category that talks about quite a few areas. I won't go through all of them. I will note maybe two in particular. One thing that we learned is that our park assets don't have consistent enough marketing and awareness in the community, and that's something that we could improve upon. Memorial Park is a good example. We use the term memorial internally, and we know what we're talking about. But when we look through the survey results, we found that people, and maybe if you're listening, you're still wondering what's Memorial Park. It's the park across from St. Thomas Church. That on the survey results, some people call it Memorial Park, others St. Thomas, the park by St. Thomas, the park north of McDonald's, the blue park, the green park. we heard quite a few things. So I think that's a good example where we internally could do a better job of increasing awareness of these parks and promoting them as well. The city pond is another good example. We had a couple feedback saying we'd love to have a fishery in town, or a fishing pond, and we said, well, we've got great news for you. We do have one, but now that we have the sidewalk that's ADA down to the fishing pond, we can begin to promote that asset. So there's definitely some awareness increases that we can be making, and we learn that from the public. There's other parks as well that we feel like we could work on, and so one of the first things that I could see our parks committee doing is going through each of our park assets and making sure that they have a common understanding for what the name is, and once they approve that, we can start putting up some signage and promoting it that way. Another big takeaway for me as I was reading through the feedback from the surveys is people love our park assets, but they also want to make sure that we're reinvesting in the assets that we have. We want to make sure that we're adding park assets in newer neighborhoods that are not close to existing ones, but we don't want to do that at the detriment of our existing ones. So a lot of folks responded to the survey and said, please, put money into our existing parks, make sure that if there's anything out there that has equipment or amenities that are reaching end of life, that we're replacing those to improve them. So there's definitely a lot of language in here that's about reinvesting in what we have and making sure that the current assets we have are something that is suitable for our existing neighborhoods. Otherwise, like I said, I don't want to go through them all in detail, but you can ask me any questions on any of those. The last category would be on the horizon, so these might be longer planned things. We know that Trojan Village is a new housing development on the north side of town, and we have land there for a future park. So down the road, when that development is substantially developed, we want to make sure that we are developing a new park asset there. And there's a few other ideas there as well that we got from the public. So I went through that kind of quickly. It is a lengthy document, but I feel like it's very useful. I've enjoyed this process. We've really enjoyed hearing from the public on what their preferences and needs and desires are for our park assets. And there's a lot of really positive stuff that we gained from that. Again, this is a draft. Our intent is to go back to our Parks Master Plan Steering Committee meeting this week. Next week is the next Parks Board meeting, at which point I hope to have a final approval on the plan, and then we would bring it back for you for final approval at the next commission meeting. I'll stand by for questions.
Questions or comments?
Was this all done in-house?
Yes. And I do want to put a thank you out there. On page 2, you can see the committee members from that steering committee. So this was done with volunteers from the public as well as internal staff.
Yeah, it's really great work. Maybe you could just touch a little bit, Jameson, on, you know, how this document is going to be used to make decisions moving forward. And, you know, sometimes these plans, you know, a lot of work gets done and it looks really great on paper, and then they kind of get put on the shelf and forgotten about. So I'm just curious if there's been any strategic plans around, okay, you know, how are we going to prioritize things the next year, or look at this document when it comes to deciding where to make investments and things like that?
Yeah, good question. Every year, especially as we move through the budget process, we look at what the priorities are for the city and for the community for the following year. And this serves a really easy guide so that we know if we want to have some capital projects in the Parks Department's budget for the next year, we can see what the best ideas are and the priorities are. We can start with the in-progress items, making sure that those get done to the best extent, and then we can start moving on the next ones as well. And then and a lot of these are smaller items, I should note. Sometimes folks might look at a master plan as a shopping list, and that's not the case. What it really is gathering the feedback from the community so that we know what the community's priorities are, and then being able to put that into action. Oftentimes, we get requests on a large variety of topics, and we don't know what the priorities of the communities are unless we go through a process like this where we can collect that feedback. And there were a lot of ideas in here, from sporting activities to new facilities, but the big takeaways for me, again, were let's make sure that we are taking care of what we have and investing in what the current assets are. There's a lot of little stuff in here. I call it little, but it's still significant. I would use that awareness creation as a good example. That's not something that will cost us a substantial amount of money, but it can have a very large impact on the health of our community just by people knowing where all of our parks are and how to get to them and what the benefits are of each of them. There are also larger items that do cost more money, and this plan gives us an easy way of identifying those things on the horizon so that when we get to the budget season, if we need to start stockpiling money away for reserves to save up for that. We know that park equipment for a larger park, if you look at Memorial, something like that would today cost 6 digits easy. And so if you're wanting to put a new large playground up, that's something you need to save up for a few years. Even a smaller neighborhood park is something that's quite costly as well. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, great, thank you.
Another thing I'll mention too is there are park board members that were on this committee, which it makes it nice too. Okay.
If there is any feedback now or any other time, please send that my way. This is still a draft form. We're hoping to get it very close to finished here, but we're still at a time where we can make changes and incorporate new ideas to it. Thank you.
Very good. All right, number 18, April 2026, city updates.
Okay, as that's coming up, we are gearing up for construction season, so these updates will start getting busier once again. But first, we'll want to start out by giving a congratulations to Landon Lynch. If we can get to the next slide there. There we go. Landon has been in our Parks Department for a number of years, and he has recently made a transfer to our water distribution and collection department. So we're happy to see him advance and take on a new position within the city. Then we have a list of active projects. As always, if there's anything on here that you're not seeing that you want information on, please let me know and we can add that to the list. The big construction for this year will be Egan Avenue. Construction is resuming today, April 6th. That'll include setup for traffic control, continuing construction on sidewalks, retaining wall work, tree removals, and then intersection pavement, lane work, and landscaping to follow as the weather conditions allow. So some of that's going to be resuming the work that was unfinished from the 2025 half of the project, and some of it's going to be starting up the 2026 project. At this time, we're not expecting a full roadway closure, but as the work progresses, those traffic patterns may change. Ryan, anything to add?
Maybe I'll just mention, like, frost is the biggest thing for Egan Avenue moving forward, and the rain, we dug down a little bit today to take a look at where the frost is, and it's pushed down further than it was last week, so that's changing quickly. And as the contractor is able to do a full roadway closure for Phase 3A, which would be the west side between Fifth Street and 9th Street, they're probably gonna wanna move fairly quickly. They have a requirement to coordinate that closure with all adjacent property owners that are affected, so they'll get advance notice, but that may happen fairly quickly, and we'll work with the public to make sure they're informed.
So from what you said, the west side will be the first part of the project moving forward?
That's correct, yep.
Okay. Next we'll note is installation of the new lights at Flynn Field. So installation of the bases were scheduled to start now. And this, we had the equipment, and so we're looking at getting that work moving. We do want to note that the existing lighting that we've had in place for years will remain operational as we're installing the new lights. We want to make sure that the games for those who use the field continue to be operational regardless of what state the installations are in. So there's the SU games that are going on this spring, and so we're working to coordinate along those games, although there might be times when construction crews are on site during events. Those construction areas will be outside of the field, of course. We're working outside of the main fence area, and then any construction areas will be fenced to maintain safety and to avoid impacting those play areas. So looking forward to having those moving along. On the electric side, it's going to be a big year for construction. We have two large substation projects. First is the reconstruction of the Green substation. The site grading is complete there, and we are moving forward with the fencing, and construction will follow shortly. The estimated energization of the new substation will be November of this year. And then the southeast substation is having an expansion on it. The contractor is mobilizing to begin construction there, and the estimated energization is late of July of this year.
And just for clarification, the green substation isn't the color, it's the one that's located by Dakota Prairie Playhouse.
Correct, yep. We'll jump into events. As always, we've had a busy month of events at the library. So they had their first annual Readers Fair. This provided a day of reading and celebration. Oftentimes, people view and use reading as a solo activity, and so this was an opportunity for readers to come together and enjoy that shared experience. We also had afternoon STEAM classes, beginning with the 3D pens, and that was a picture in the corner of that. There we go. They got 3D pens. So those STEAM classes have resumed as well. Some past events, we have completed the resident communication survey. This is the second time the survey has been released, and so we're compiling the results and plan to present them at a future meeting. And then we had our most recent City Circle event. The primary topic of conversation was code enforcement processes, but we also touched on some city communication, transparency, that recent communication survey, and then the use of e-scooters, one-wheels as well. Upcoming events, the library has Music Bingo, which will be on Thursday, April 23rd, 6:30 to 7:30 p.m. The chess tournament's going to be Saturday, April 25th, 10 a.m. to noon. And that's everything for the library. Oh, no, the library also has a summer reading program, which will be on the theme of unearthing a story. That's coming up here for the summer of 2026. In the finance department, they will be closed Wednesday, May 13th for a month out. We're giving some heads up there for some internal staff education. And I think that's, and then one more in the library there. This summer, they're going to be adding Tony's as a new collection item that can be checked out at the library.
And just to correct you, Jameson, we'll only be out for a day, not a month.
Did I say the month? Wednesday, May 13th for one day for education. Thanks for the correction there, Amy. I think that's the last slide. Any questions? Okay, thank you.
All right, is there any public comment? Okay. Seeing none, under announcements, our next regular commission meeting will be Monday, April 20th at 5:30 p.m. here in the commission room. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you.